Hey everyone, welcome back. It is Wednesday at 12:15, and as always, Wednesdays at 12:15, we continue with the Orlando Homeowner Show. I'm Rick Bosley, bringing the Orlando Homeowner Show, talking to really any homeowner, specifically today, because we're talking of a great a great session lined up for you with solar panel specialists and also a rep from a Fidelity National Title Company here. They're both my partners. I've used them personally to put solar on my house and also to close with. So take a look. We've got a great session for you, and be right back. All right, we are here with Andrew Sutherland with UMA Solar and also Jen Pereira with Fidelity National Title. Hey, thanks for both for jumping on. I'm going to reply to a comment here real quick, and I'll just say hi. Hey, Jason, thanks for always jumping on. I can always count on you for a shout out and a hello. But let's now say hello to Andrew and Jen. How are you guys today?
Awesome. Good. Glad to be here, man.
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
No, absolutely. I feel it's very timely since we saw our first kind of heck is this Florida weather this morning, and now we're talking about solar panel and some solar energy and heat there. So this has been a kind of a relatively new thing, yet it's taking by storm. There's been different credits. Andrew, you and I, we connected 8 years ago, I think, when you joined the real estate office back at Keller Williams. You've since left the real estate industry and gone to selling solar panels for homes. Correct. So tell me about that transition. Why did you feel that was an industry that you wanted to bet on and actually been thriving in now? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I look at it from my outlook on life is just there's a level of responsibility that we have to the greater good of society. So I got into solar because ultimately it gives people hope that when you think of our future, it's going to be filled with electric vehicles and solar power for homes and, wind fields generating clean energy. That's kind of the future that I envision. So I'm extremely proud to be part of this industry that's taking us away from a fossil fuel broken industry that we know and can see that has some destructive qualities to the planet. So I got into solar.
That, I mean, the greater good, I love that. Sorry to cut you off there. You got into solar what? You had to finish tagline.
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's my journey. That's what I'm proud of. That's why I got in.
So it's more than just a job transfer and a paycheck. You're actually it's something you're passionate about as well. You and I connected. I've since sold the house. That was a year ago. So probably 3 years ago, I put solar on my house, and you were with a different company then. You switched to UMA. Is there a reason why you chose UMA Solar as opposed to, I don't want to say the other companies, but what about solar? If I'm a consumer and I'm looking to shop solar, what should I be aware of, or what questions should I ask when I'm interviewing different solar companies?
Perfect. And that kind of segues into there's about 4 key things that you really want to look for. The number one thing I would say is if you're somebody who's saying, hey, I want to get into solar and understand why it's important for me and my family, the number one reason is it really does increase the cost of ownership of your home. The value does increase. You can see it tangibly through appraisal reports now that we've had a lot out. And then secondly, it's decreasing the true cost of your ownership by removing up to 99% of the electricity that you would have on your bill for about 20 years. In addition to that, one of the big reasons why is because people are always kind of scared of saying, well, is this product tested? Is it proven? Is it really backed? Most all, if not all, large installers, manufacturers are giving you a 20-year warranty on the parts, on the labor, on the workmanship. So it allows you for a peace of mind when you're moving forward with this project to know, hey, it should last longer than my roofs. It should last longer than my AC typically. But buying a house saying, hey, this is only going to last for a certain amount of time doesn't prevent me from getting those 2 items. So it's not going to prevent you from saying, hey, moving forward with this is a wise investment. And then it's a clean energy that's getting a 26% federal tax credit to anybody who purchased it on their home.
We're going to go back to that. Keep going, because I want to dive deeper in that, but keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the huge key factors of it. And then something I always share now, the space that I'm in with UMA, I work with home builders. I work with developers. I work with different, let's say, construction companies from that standpoint. So now I'm actually selling solar to the next level above and trying to break it into the space of the new homes. When you're really looking at it right now to say, hey, I'm going to buy a house that has an upgrade. And I'm going to say, hey, I can buy a house with that $20,000 kitchen upgrade. But okay, you can do that. That's great. And that's awesome. But that $20,000 kitchen upgrade is not going to give you that tax benefit. It's not going to reduce your electricity bill down to $10 a month additionally. And plus, you're not going to get that benefit of that $9,000 tax credit that you can use to put down on a down payment on the kitchen upgrade of your future as you're already in the home. So when go ahead.
Let me dive into the tax credit a little bit, because I was under the impression, and Jen, at any point you've got questions here, I want this to be just the three of us chatting. If we had coffee or a beer, we would have it, but we don't. I've got, used to be Diet Coke right here. But the tax credit, Andrew, when I purchased, it was about $40,000 for the whole unit. And then I got a tax credit back of about $10,000 that I could have either taken a check for. I applied it to the principal. Is that the tax credit you're talking about? Or am I going to get one on an annual basis as an incentive, as a write-off that I can keep because I am producing clean energy?
No. So you're right on the first one. It's a one-time credit for that home. So if you do buy a system, it's $40,000. You're getting 26% of that. Let's just say rough math is $8,000. Okay. You would be able to take that $8,000 and you could apply it back to the principal of your loan to reduce your payments and keep them at a fixed amount. Or if you're somebody who says, hey, I bought my system in a new home construction model, I could get that tax credit and do whatever I so please with it, because that credit is coming back to me. I've already financed the system because it's in my mortgage and the purchase price of my home.
Got it.
Or if I'm somebody who's buying the house cash, same exact principle applies. I can use that tax credit for my own purposes.
I guess it boils down to your ROI, right? If I'm getting $8,000 or $9,000 back and financing, it was around 2 or 3%. Is it still fixed around 2 or 3%?
Roughly speaking, rates have came down, so you can get things as low as 0.9% all the way up to about 2% is the range now.
So 2 is high, so it's still free money. So you might say, hey, keep my principal where it was. I'm going to take that $9,000 and go invest it somewhere else to get that better ROI to leverage money. Of course, if you go out and you eat it or drink it or drive it, then you're ultimately losing on that proposition. Yet there is a way to make your money work for you. Jen, any questions so far as a title professional or title rep in terms of what he shared with us so far, some of the benefits of what and why people are buying and gravitating towards solar?
No, I totally agree that, we need to be cautious about our earth and, what we're doing to affect the future. So solar is definitely the way to go. And there are a lot of benefits, and I'm enjoying hearing Andrew talk about that. We're actually going to be Tesla car owners in January. So
sweet. Super
excited about that. Great information.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Well, if anyone's out there and you want to get a hold of ask specific questions, here's Andrew's contact information below, and please put it in the comment section as well. So Andrew, I'm going to go, and maybe this is just a one-on-one, but people can be privy to our conversation.
Sure.
4 years ago, it made sense. I had a brand new home. It was built in 2016, so it was brand new at the time. I had double pane windows. I had energy efficient AC. I had great insulation everywhere. So although it was a 3,600 square foot home, what I paid for solar was fixed, was on average less than what my utility bill was. And it made sense. I'm still paying $300 a month to either to energy, or at the time it was Tesla, of going, either way, I'm good, except I'm going to own it and I'm making a good footprint and it fixes there. Something that really impacted me was, and helped me with this as you're selling it, what's the average increase or inflation that you're seeing that these FP&L or Duke is seeing? Mm-hmm. Because I mean, it's almost like if you rent, you're subject to the rental market every year going up.
Right.
You own, you're not. Well, if you have solar, you own your energy, versus if you don't, you're actually renting your energy from these companies. So talk to me about what the increases in prices have been historically.
So historically speaking, in majority of the viewership, If you're in Duke territory, it's unfortunate that you are because they received the highest increases. So if you trace back to 2016, when I first got into selling solar, to where we're at now, there's about a 21% increase. So on average, they're doing about 4 to 5% each year. So if you kind of compound that out over the course of 20 years that the system should warranty and last for you, which is contractually obligated, you're going to look to save just on the compound interest itself. When you're looking at companies like OUC and FP&L, they've done some creative things to make it appear as if though you're not getting the increase because they do small cuts every year, maybe 0.3% to 0.5%. But then they do like once every 5 years, usually do about a 5 to 6% increase. And then every year between, let's say, year 1 and year 5, they do 0.5% increases, maybe 1%. But overall, when you look at the trend, it's like the stock where it's going down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes down, it goes up. So it gives you the perception that your bill is getting cheaper until you see that large increase every 5 years. And FPL's is up 2021, so they should see a pretty large increase coming up on the bills.
I was going to ask, when should I do it for my timing purpose? But you're going, do it now, because I moved out of Duke into FPL. So that's good information for me to know.
Yeah.
This is me just talking now. I've heard about these companies actually time sharing, if you will, some solar that people could buy into a timeshare out in a field somewhere and have a portion of that energy. Am I remotely close, or was I confused with the message when I heard that?
So a little bit confused, but close in the standpoint that a lot of the power companies now are going to switch to something called time of use. It's more predominantly seen out west, where it's saying, all right, you're using your power between 9 a.m. and 5 a.m. or 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. We're going to charge you X amount for anything used within that window. So what FPL is allowing people to do is say, well, I could take advantage of solar, let's say between 9 and 5, because the sun is up, I'm able to pull energy at a much cheaper cost. So if I take time of use with solar as my option, it means that I'm buying power from the grid, but via the solar field. So my power is cheaper. But then from, let's say, 5 p.m. now to the 9 a.m. at nighttime, the power is back on the grid, meaning back on a coal-fired plant or something to that extent, because obviously the sun's not up, and the power is more expensive.
Got it. What are some common myths that people have or misconceptions that when they do talk to you, you share some information they didn't know? So for me, it was, I thought I was off the grid, yet you're still very much on the grid, and I actually sell my energy back to the company when I overproduce, because in the evenings, if I don't have a battery pack, I still have to be on the grid. So what are some common questions or frequently asked questions or misunderstandings that people have that someone else might have out there right now?
And you just brought up on the perfect one. Net metering is kind of the albeit question that I always explain, but it's very simple, and you did a good job of kind of walking it through. But it's simple as that. We are building solar for your house for a 24-hour basis, but obviously the sun's not up in 24 hours. So we try to maximize and get as much energy we can off of your roof when the sun is up. So anything extra, like you said, it's going to go to the grid. It's going to store there for you for no cost. You're not paying for it, and they're not paying you anything extra for it. It's an even transaction of kilowatt per kilowatt. So when the sun is down and now your house demand is coming from the grid, that means what you've given to them is what you're flowing back. So it helps on the days it's cloudy. It's going to help, of course, in your nighttime. But ultimately, your system is designed to produce more power than it needs to always give you that clean flow of
to have that overage.
Yep.
Any other common misconceptions or questions that you always are answering?
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the other one is where people are just confused at the increase that it's going to do for their value over the long term. So, perfect example. When you first got into solar, you were, I think, my second or third person that I sold a system to.
Trailblazer, maybe. Yeah.
Trailblazer, yeah. Since then, I've sold about 200 systems. But looking at every single person, when you're saying, hey, if you went and got an appraisal on your home, is it going to appraise for less or more? Well, it's going to appraise for more. Sure. Did I reduce your power bill? Yes or no? Well, yes. So when you're looking at just on the large overscale feel of solar, if it's answering those two questions for you, then typically it's going to be a good investment if you're planning on staying in the home for a certain amount of time. If you're saying, hey, well, we want to put it on and then 6 months later, let's see if we can sell this house, if that's the case, then I wouldn't recommend putting solar on that property. Let it go to the next homeowner. But from the standpoint of, I'm going to be in my house 5-7 years, I'm going to make an investment out of it, I'm going to be here for a bit, 100%. It's probably the best investment you can do outside of saying, let's say, hey, I want to do a $20,000 kitchen upgrade, that when you go and put it back on the market, you're only getting $4,000 to $5,000 for that kitchen upgrade. Versus if I say, hey, I'm going to take $20,000 and do solar, and I'm going to get kicked back $6,000 from the federal government. My new investment's only $14,000, and now I don't have an electricity bill for the next 20 years. Yeah.
I was gonna say that makes complete sense, because even in my new house, built 1994, it's wood frame stucco. It's got single pane windows, right? So I've got some upgrade it can do. I am not nearly as energy efficient. So when I called you up and I said, what's my payment versus what's my current bill? I'm going, that doesn't make sense. It's not a switch cost, yet it would if I looked at net worth. And this is a good example. I always coach, when I coach my businesses and my agents, to make money decisions on how it affects your net worth, not how it affects your cash flow. And if you think about how it affects your net worth, I used to pay 300 to FPL. Now that goes down to 20, and I pay UMA Solar 280. Well, it's a break even. And so my cash flow doesn't change at all, except my house is now worth 20,000 more than it was because I have an asset on there. Yes, am I still paying for the asset? Yes, I still have a liability if I finance it, yet I also no longer have to rent. So that made me rethink of going, make decisions based off of net worth. So if you're thinking about energy, you're thinking about how you can increase your net worth or how you can make an investment in your house, and you're watching this right now, if you're going to be there for more or 4 or 5 years, just like you shouldn't buy a house if you know you're moving in the next year or two, it doesn't make sense. But if you've got time to buy down the principal, have the appreciation, and what I love is lock in your energy rate and not be subject to that 4, 5, 6% annual increase. So a lot of good points there. Hey, Jen, I want to bring you in because, when we first spoke, you said, hey, there's a lot of questions that come in if that worked. Yes, it did. See, I just switched to you. It's like a real life game of Tetris. You said you've had some
Brady Bunch.
Okay, I'll stop. Some deals kind of go a little bit sideways based on solar because it's new, and a lot of agents aren't equipped with the information and knowledge that we're getting here today. So what can you kind of forewarn of going, if you do it, buyer or seller or agent beware? Talk to us about some of those stories. And Andrew, feel free, like I said, the same way. If you got questions or input, please jump in there because we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, please do. So recently we had one of our partners go out on a listing appointment. And I recently just did an educational video to my agents. So, when you're going out and you're looking at the property and you're maybe thinking, hey, you need to fix this or this, before we list it, I always recommend that the agent looks up just to see what's on the roof.
That's a good idea, even if there's not solar, so you identify how old is that roof. So if your agent not looking at the roof, beware.
How old is that roof? And then that's amazing. You guys have solar on there. Is that just for your pool, or is it to run your house? And if they say, yep, I just got it about 2 years ago, and I'm still making payments on it. So ding, ding, ding. All right. So there's a UCC lien on the property.
UCC, help us with the acronyms.
Oh, boy, you caught me.
Okay, I wasn't sure as well. I'm not sure what UCC is. So we're gonna make sure we get back to that.
It's like a contractor lien. If someone does work on your property and you haven't paid it, then you're going to get a nice little lien on there, and they want to get their money.
You owe somebody else money on work they did to your home.
Yes.
Whether it's cabinets, roofs, solar, pools, whatever. Okay.
Right. So you haven't paid it off yet, and it's an agreement that there is going to be a lien on your property. Just like when you take out a mortgage, that mortgage company is going to place a lien on there until you pay it off, and once you do, it's released. So story goes, we're halfway through. We always send our title commitments and all of our lien searches to the agent, and then it was also on the master settlement showing that it needed to be paid off. Well, the owner wasn't aware that this was a lien, and the agent didn't know as well. So from there, then they had to scramble and just see if the new owner would want to take over the payments and have the paperwork to take that lien and have it be released and then added back in with the new owners. So your new buyer needs to not only be able to qualify for all of their debts that they currently have, their new home, and now they need to add this additional debt of
a monthly $30,000 liability.
Yeah, a monthly payment of whatever that is going to be amortized over what's owed.
So this is a good point. And I only stop because I'm going to lose my train of thought off of that.
No.
Yet when buyers are getting pre-approved, they're getting pre-approved based on obviously the principal, the interest, and also the estimated taxes and insurance, and HOA, because that's documented on there. What they're not going to get approved for or put into the criteria is what are your utilities. So although this is a found savings from a buyer's perspective, if they had solar, the mortgage companies aren't going, here's your average utilities here, and they're not rolling that into your qualification. So Jen, now you're going, they've got to take over solar payments. It is because now they've got a liability. So now if someone's on the cusp of the maximum threshold they can do, and they've got to take over solar payments, now they may not qualify to buy that house.
Right. So Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong. Are there other options to where the owner could take the solar panels off and then take them to their new house and maybe, I guess you guys store them until they find another home and close? Is that an option as well? Because I would definitely be taking my hot tub with me.
I wish I would have known that, right?
100%. And I've had a few who say, hey, you know what? I'm in a situation where I'm going to take them because it just makes sense. But it's always an option. 3 options are, number 1, pay the system off at closing. So if you have enough proceeds to say, hey, I'm going to get $200,000 from the sale, I'm going to take $20,000, pay off the system. New homeowner has a house now with no electricity bill and no payment for the cost of the system because it's been paid off. Second thing is like what you just mentioned. You just, of course, you need to be cautious and see, are you going to be approved to cover an additional $200 in liability for this home? And if they are, then they can move accordingly. And the last is taking the system off. It's not as expensive as people really think it is to reset up another system. You're probably paying anywhere between $500 to $7,500 on a traditional system size. Rick, you might get a little bit more because your system was bigger. But on the traditional system size, anything between there to remove the system and replace it on the new house, get it all connected and hooked up. The only thing, of course, outside of that is the permit, which is going to be on the installer, but everything will be included in one cost to cover removing, putting it back on the new home. And then the old home typically will always get a new, not so much a new roof, but of course they're going to patch and seal up the holes where they penetrated the roof. Typically, they're going to make sure you still have a 10-year leak protection warranty as the new, well, let's say the old roof that is now new is getting replaced. And then the new roof, when the system is going on, they're of course going to get a typical standard 10-year leak protection warranty from placing the system onto the home. So, you have 3 different ways you can do it, but most people pick option 1, pay the system off.
Pay the system, and that's what we did. We paid the system off. It was about a break even for us because we owed, I think, 22 or 24, and maybe got 20. So I ended up paying $4,000 more. Yet when we put it on with you, we had zero intention of selling. Circumstances change, and I'm an impulsive realtor, so I guess we move every 3 years, right?
You always want to make sure that buyer agent knows that there is this type of system, and that appraiser needs to know when they're coming in. They need to take a note that's on there because it does give some value. So,
and sellers, your listing agent needs to have that document and show up with the appraisal so it's not missed as well, so they can see what the cost was, what they owe. can give you credit value. When we've asked, how does it affect, I've used it often compared to a pool. If I see a house with solar and out a pool, and I see an identical house with a pool and without solar, I'm going to pretty much compare those to be the same value of a house. And that's the kind of asset you're looking at. If you put in a $50,000 pool and sell it next year, you will not get $50,000 of added value. You'll get about half of that. And we're seeing the same thing show up with solar. Next week, we are having a roofer on, and I've got some roofing questions now for you, Andrew, because I just, I put on a new roof in my house. So I've got a beautiful 20-year shingle roof. If I put solar on there, the last thing I want to do is go put a bunch of holes in it. Number one, is that a true concern that I should consider solar based on my roof lifespan? Number two, do you know if it voids my roof warranty? And number three, if I put on solar and it's got 20-year warranty, but I've got a 10-year-old roof, at some point, I've got to replace my roof. What's the cost for me to take solar off and new roof on, put solar back on? So I just gave you a three first, so fire away.
I got you. It's like a grand slam on this one for the roof. So first question is, yes, if you are buying a new home, or let's say you have a house, you got a brand new roof on it, and I put solar panels on that roof, it's a better option to do it then, because the roof is new and the roof is going to be able to give you, like you said, the 20 to 25-year protection warranty.
Yep.
Majority, and this is kind of the range, you'll see bottom of the barrel will be 10-year warranty for leak protections from most all installers. Your upper echelon, your better quality materials, which Iron Ridge is what it's called, but the mounting brackets, those are going to give you a 25-year leak protection warranty from the manufacturer. So it always behooves you to say, well, if I'm getting a 25-year protection from Iron Ridge, who's going to be backing up the installer, well, I can now move safely into getting solar on my new roof because I have a 25-year leak protection warranty. I have at least 160-mile-per-hour wind load for hurricanes and for wind damage. So if any of those two situations fall, as opposed to calling the roofer, I'm calling my solar company to say, hey, can you guys come out and take care of the damages that ended up happening? The other question that you had was saying, well, if the roof is older, right? Let's say I got a 15, 16, 17-year-old roof, and I'm deciding I want to put solar on this roof. Traditionally speaking, I would highly suggest not to do that option. You definitely want to be able to say, I need to get an upgraded roof to match for my solar. A lot of the roofers out there now are starting to understand that they've been losing a lot of margins by not offering solar. So you're going to start seeing a lot more roofers, and that's again what I do is work with roofers and get them trained up on how to start offering solar as an offering, because it truly makes sense. You're having the same crew do all the work versus splitting the crews and saying, okay, put a roof on, and then hiring almost the same kind of crew to put the solar on. Might as well get it done in one caboot, have one loan, right? Have one protection clause that the roofer can back up through the labor warranty that they get from the manufacturer of the product, and call it a day. And then the last question that you had, trying to vaguely remember, was you were asking
if I did put on, let's say I do have a brand new roof, but then
what the cost would be.
Next year a tree limb falls through this side and I got to just replace the whole thing with an insurance. What is the intense or the cost to take off solar, replace the roof, put it back on?
Typically, like I said, that $500 to $7,500 range.
Does insurance cover that if I have to do that, if insurance pays for a roof?
Insurance would cover it. In all the cases that I've ever been in, I've had a lot of people, unfortunately, Vito, who I put solar on, and then like 7 or 8 months later, there was a hailstorm. And obviously in Florida, if you have over 25% damage on the roof due to hail, you can qualify for a new roof. Well, I had about 4 houses, and every single person said every insurance covered it all the way through for the removal of the system and putting it back on. They just contacted us, got quotes, sent the quotes over, and then everything was paid in full from the insurance. So if you're in the situation and you're concerned, well, if I do put this on and I have an older roof that's 17, 18 years old, I would highly recommend reaching out to a qualified roofer who has solar installed, or solar department within them, to get one full shot of everything. It's truly going to be a headache if you're now having to reach back out to the solar installer and they do a quality check on the roof, a lot of them sometimes won't even install on your roof. Tesla was like that, where they'll say, no, we won't install on this roof because of the age. You do need to work with our partner to do a re-roof, so that way we can qualify and give you a 25-year leak protection warranty.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. Hey, it's 12:45. Time flew. I told you guys it would. Any final thoughts that a homeowner, future homeowner, or current home prospect, or realtor for that matter, should know? Final thoughts, parting ways as we finish off here.
For me, it's at the end of the day, especially if you're a realtor and you want to do justice by your customer, referring, especially in new home purchase, referring solar to them and making them understand the importance of it, you're doing your best job by giving them true contribution, so that way they can make a better informed decision. By not doing so and they find out later on, they're not going to trust your credibility as much. So I'm a phenomenal resource. I love talking about solar, as Rick already knows. So if you have any questions, any concerns, you just want to get more information on how you can be more impactful by learning about solar, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Awesome. Good stuff. Jen, anything from you?
No, great information. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you both for jumping on. You've got their contact there. And at any point, we want to make sure we continue, because next week we're going to be back here live. We're going to talk about the Orlando real estate by the numbers, so you guys can be aware of what's happening in real estate to your home values, interest rates, and everything going. So excited for that. So until then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday, YouTube and Facebook, 12:15 to 12:45. Thanks again. Take care.